we're going to talk to Vietnam Desert Shield veteran Matt Jackson.
Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
You got it. Thank you, Matt. Matt flew in Lam Son 719, missions that took place in Laos. These missions resulted in 108 helicopters destroyed and 618 damaged, the highest number of losses in the entire Vietnam War. Tell us a little bit about your history in the military.
Well, I'm a Navy brat, and when I quit college, 2 worthless years, Dad talked me into going to the Army and be a helicopter pilot.
2 worthless years.
So, oh yeah, it was worthless, 2 worthless.
I hear you.
So I joined the Army, become a helicopter pilot in '68, February 5th, 1968. Went to flight school, and February 5th of '69, I stepped off the plane in Cam Bay and joined Alpha 227th, 1st Cav Division. Our call sign was Chicken Man. And when I first heard that, I thought, man, that must really instill fear in the hearts of the enemy and the trust of our soldiers. But find out that Chicken Man was a pretty good call sign for us. So, but
that's interesting. That's interesting because we were called something like Chicken Man or Chicken something with the 101st. They thought it was a chicken instead of an eagle.
Yeah.
On our patch. Quite a contrast there, but it's quite similar as well. So, Undaunted Valor. So, where'd you go to? You go to Fort Rucker?
No, I'm one of the few Army pilots that's never been assigned to Rucker. I went to Fort Walters, Texas, where you started your flight school training, and then they needed volunteers to go to Hunter Army Airfield. Rucker was full, and I thought to myself, let's see, Fort Rucker, Dry County, Hunter Army Airfield, big city, beaches. I'll go to Hunter. Thank you very much.
So, wait a minute. Where was Hunter? Texas?
At Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Much nicer place than Dothan, Alabama.
Well, I got to tell you one thing real quick, a little family note. My son has just got invited to go to helicopter school.
Good.
He's in the 3rd ID. Been going through he went through a simulation flight today, or yesterday actually, because I got the videotape today. And he's 20 years old. I'm an older dad. And so we're just hoping that he gets moving on, because now he's got to go start to meet the CW 4s and 5s.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever that means. So I know they're warrant officers, but I didn't quite understand.
Well, CW5s kind of advise God on what to do.
Oh, I got
had that status in my day. We didn't have back then, but
okay.
Yeah, all of his time at Fort Rucker.
Well, as long as he's getting up there, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's go. When you got to Vietnam, what happened? Who'd you go to? What was?
Yeah,
what
I got to Vietnam. We were stationed at Lai K down in 3 Corps.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 18 months flying. Extended. We went to Cambodia and the Cambodian incursion in 70. May of 70, I got promoted to a 1st lieutenant in the infantry, and then came back to the States and went to the officer basic course in August through December, and then went back to Vietnam and was going to go back and get an infantry assignment, and wound up getting a helicopter assignment back in my old unit because they didn't need infantry officers at the time. So I went back to my old unit and flew with them till I came home.
Okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. What was the first call you got about this mission?
The first clue about the mission is 3 of us were called into the company commander's office, and he said he had to detach 3 aircraft to go up north. Did not know what the mission was about. Just knew he had to send 3 aircraft up there, and he picked 3. And he was told he had to send good pilots. So me and 2 other guys, we picked 3 co-pilots and jumped in the aircraft and flew north. The place we went to is called Dong Ha.
Yeah, I've been there.
You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, just being Quang Tri province below Da Nang.
You got it.
No, above Da Nang, sorry.
Yeah, above Da Nang.
Dong Ha Bridge.
And got up there, and the battalion we were assigned to was the 223rd It had been a fixed-wing battalion up until the day before. And they pulled in a deputy commander for I think it was the 14th Aviation Battalion, pulled him in and said, Colonel Kirklighter, you're going to take command of this battalion tomorrow morning and make it a helicopter unit. And they pulled helicopter units from all over the southern part of Vietnam and assigned them to that unit. And the units they pulled in was the 48th Blue Stars, the 173rd Robin Hoods, the 78th Assault Support Battalion company, which was a Chinook company. They pulled in an aerial weapons company as well. And that became the 223rd. And then the next day, Colonel Kirklighter, he didn't even know what the mission was. And he went to a briefing at Quai Son, and that's where it was revealed what the mission was. And the mission was the South Vietnamese were going to attack into Laos from Quai Son to Chapon, which is about 50 miles inside Laos, and it's where the North Vietnamese had big base camps along the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Right.
And they were going to assault into there and seize those base camps and destroy the base camps. The operation could not be carried out, though, unless they had U.S. helicopters to fly them in. And so our battalion and the 101st supported the operation with helicopters. And the 101st supported the 1st ARVN Airborne Division. Our battalion supported the 1st ARVN Infantry Division. And the 1st ARVN Airborne Division went to the north side of Highway 9, which went from Quai Son to Chapon. And we supported the 1st Infantry Division that went on the south side of that highway, going to Chapon. And it was supposed to be 4 days to get to Chapon. And after 30 days, they still had not gotten there yet.
Wow. So, I'm sorry, what was the date of this again?
This started on 8 February of 1971.
Okay, late. Yeah, okay. That was towards the end of the war. And it was, do you think it was a futile effort, or you had a good opportunity to take care of this business?
Well, the operation was screwed up from the get-go. They had planned that the 1st ARVN Armored Regiment, under the command of 1st ARVN Airborne, would attack down Highway 9. And they went about 9 kilometers, and they hit this town of Alui. Well, when they got to Alui, Intel told them that Highway 9 was a good road, had few streams. Well, those streams were 20 feet deep, and they didn't take any AVLBs with them. So they got stopped there at Alui with the Armor Force. So then it was up to the infantry and the airborne infantry down the north side to leapfrog from one LZ to another to get to Chapon. Well, the problem with it is that dense jungle, very few landing zones. And the North Vietnamese, first they knew the operation was going to take place. So instead of only being 25,000 troops there, they had about 60,000 troops there. They moved them in. And the LZs, they had all the LZs marked and ringed. And they would start out with the ring with 50 calibers, then 23 millimeters, then 37 millimeters, ringing each one of these LZs. And from day one, the very first LZ, we had aircraft shot down. And for the rest of the operation, every day you had aircraft shot down. The operation lasted 45 days. And at 45 days, as you said, we lost 108 aircraft. Over 600 were damaged. We had 1,200 crew members wounded. And we still have, we had 109 pilots killed. And we're still missing 11 guys to MIAs.
That was my next question. Yeah, how many guys are still missing? That's,
Yeah.
Boy, that's great. 700 helicopters destroyed or damaged.
Yep.
700. Where did they all come from?
Well, you had the 3 aviation battalion, the 101st Aviation Battalion with all their birds. You had the 223rd with theirs. Heavy lift came from the Marine Corps. because we didn't have any heavy. The only heavy lift we had was a couple of sky cranes. The Chinooks couldn't pick up the artillery because that area was all mountainous. It was 4,000 foot elevation. And so the 155 artillery pieces, Chinooks couldn't pick them up and move them. So they had to rely upon the Marine Corps to come in with their heavy lifts, the 53s, to pick up the 155s and move them from fire base to fire base. And it just got to the point where you had aircraft getting shot down and trying to get in. The worst one was on the south side, an LZ called Lola. And you had a high ridge on the south side of Highway 9. And there were 3 clearings there that they felt they could use. And they named them after movie stars. Lola, Sophia, and Liz.
Liz
And
Taylor, Gina Lola Bridget,
and Lola. Lola. So
they tell me I'm losing my memory.
well, there were about 4 or 5 LZs that we went to before we got to Lola. And like I said, this thing started on the 8th of February. It was the 3rd of March when we finally got to Lola and put the insertion in the Lola.
Wow.
We had 40 aircraft in the lift. It was a 4-ship, maybe 5-ship LZ. So you can imagine you had aircraft strung out all over the place. And the first 4 aircraft in there were shot down. And before it was over with, we had 5 aircraft shot down inside the LZ, and it's only a 5-ship LZ to start with. So thank God some of the guys, when they crashed off to the edge of the bamboo, and so we were still able to get aircraft in there.
Right.
But yeah, Lola, it took us 2 days, 3 turns, and it took 2 days to get all the Vietnamese in there. Yeah. And the NVA were right up on the wire. The NVA were running across the LZ as we were coming in.
Wow. You have a body count, U.S. at all, and Vietnamese North?
No, we never did get body counts. I can just
tell you from our guys.
From our guys, from the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Well, see, the Vietnamese got in; they did pretty good. Where they got in trouble was when we tried to extract them. They got to Chapone, and there was a miscommunications between the American command and the Vietnamese command. The American command felt that they were going to get into Chapone, go through and clear out all these big supply depots that were there. To the Vietnamese, the mission was get to Chapone and get out of there. So the supply depots, they weren't hurt that bad.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, and the Vietnamese started coming out. Well, when they started coming out, the NVA really started closing in on them. And these poor Vietnamese guys, they got to Sophia, and Sophia was completely surrounded by NVA right up against the wire. We're trying to pull guys out. Some of the Vietnamese panicked. You try to take 6, 8 Vietnamese on your helicopter. Came out with 15.
12 or 15, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah. Guys hanging on the skids and then fall off at 1,000 feet. It was just humongous, trying to get these guys out of there.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
Stayed that way until and not take anything away from the Vietnamese. These little boogers, South Vietnamese soldiers were in combat for straight 45 days. Very, very hard fighting, intense fighting all the way. And then to get surrounded and know the only way you're going to get out of there is if you can get on a helicopter. Not sure if the helicopters are ever going to come back in because we're all taking fire, getting shot down. And some of them panicked, just no doubt about it. But some of them stayed in there and fought like mad to hold the North Vietnamese off. And it was 3 weeks later, we still had South Vietnamese guys coming back across the border who had got off an LZ and they were escaping, invading through the jungle. We had a crew chief. He came out 4 days after the battle, after we had cleared out of Laos. And this crew chief comes walking in. He'd been shot down and had been E&Eing for about 10 days. So it was kind of a panic for everybody to get out of there.
E&E, that's the old escape and evasion term, right?
That's it.
Yay, I remembered one. Thank you. No, there's a lot of those things that just pop up once. I haven't used that term since 1968. To tell you the truth. So
Once you get out of the military, you've got
then
to
this other one about adapt. There's a current one about adapt. What's this? It seems like the same thing. I forget right offhand, but I'm going to find out tomorrow night because we're going to the Bastogne reunion at West Point to honor the guys who fought in the Battle of Bastogne. Just a side note, we're going to be recording from there if you want to check it out.
I will. I will.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. There's only a few guys left from them because they're in their late 90s, all of them, but we still have that every Christmas time when they were in that battle, we go to West Point and sort of honor them. So 700 helicopters destroyed or damaged.
Yep.
And you have no idea how many guys got killed.
Well, Americans, we do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
South
ahead.
Vietnamese have got no idea.
Yeah. So what was the KIAs or MIAs of the Americans?
The Americans, we lost 108 pilots. We had 1,200 crew members wounded, and we have 11 MIAs today.
Wow. Have they recovered any of them?
They've recovered a couple of guys, and that's the reason it's only down to 11 now. They started recovering some guys in 1990. A couple of the pilots were found. Some of the crew members were found back then, and they're still looking for some of them. That's
great. That's one thing to put it to rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really a interesting science and job that people do that. You know, and it's only fair for whoever and whenever they went to serve.
Any other interesting facts?
Anything? Any other facts about Lam Son?
Well, the big thing, there was a couple of incidences that were just ridiculous. There was on the north side, they put in Firebase Ranger North, Firebase Ranger South. And the mission of those two fire bases was to set up a screen line to prevent any reinforcements coming in from the north on the flank of the operation. Well, Ranger North had PT-76 tanks approaching it in the wire, and were fighting like mad, and they were calling for airstrikes. Well, at the same time, an Air Force jet got shot down. And instead of just using search and rescue to go find those guys, they pulled every Air Force aircraft up there to go look for them. And so here you have this fire base under attack with tanks. But you got all the fighters up here, flying along 2,000 feet, 400 miles an hour, trying to find two guys in the jungle with parachutes. And that caused a huge hoopla between General Sid Berry and the Air Force Command.
Wow.
About pulling all the fighters out of there when this fire base was getting overrun.
Kind of protecting their own.
Yeah. That caused some big problems. The Air Force, in a lot of ways, though, they really saved those fire bases when they came in. At Lola, there was a pilot. He was on one of the first aircraft to get shot down. He was a captain. I wish I could remember his name. But he was a Special Forces captain who had been there on his first tour in SF. So he gets out of his aircraft, and he's on the fire base, gets a radio, and he starts calling airstrikes in. And that was the only time that an American advisor, so to speak, was on the ground with the Vietnamese. And his role really was he was a pilot, but he just stayed there and called the airstrikes in to keep them off the.
It became an FO.
Yeah, it became an FO. There was a medic.
Did it work?
Oh yeah. He kept them off. There was a medic that he got shot down. He was a crew chief. He got shot down up at Ranger North. They sent a chopper in to pick him and his crew up. As the chopper lands, a mortar round hits, and it blew the crew chief back into the bunker that they were in. So 3 guys get on the chopper and get out of there, and the crew chief's left there.
Alive?
So, yeah, they left him behind.
Oh.
So he's up there, and everybody goes, We got to go get him out of there. So they sent another chopper up. Well, the chopper lands, and the Vietnamese swarmed it. Well, this crew chief, he was Oriental, and he jumps on the chopper, and the pilot threw him off, and he's screaming at the pilot, "But I'm the guy you came to get. Get off my chopper." Yes, he gets left behind. And so what's he do? He picks up a radio, and he starts calling in airstrikes. And he probably saved that fire base because that night he told the Vietnamese commander, "Get everybody in your bunker. I'm calling in Puff the Magic Dragon, and we're going to hose the place down." And that's what he did. And he escaped and evaded out of there with the Vietnamese. When they closed out, he went to the next fire base, got in there, and I think it was 2 days later, they finally got him out of there. But the whole time he was down there, he was acting as an FO. He got the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions.
That's crazy. Wow. That good for him and all the guys he saved.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It was just a case of, guys taking the initiative when they were called upon to take the initiative. And they did a great job.
Well, okay, now where can we pick up this book here?
Tell us about the book.
And tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little about the book first.
Well, the book, I wrote the books, all three of them.
There's three?
I wrote the books as a novel. And the reason I did that, I wrote the first book, Assault Helicopter Unit in Vietnam.
Yeah. I have my copy.
Yep. Well, I wrote the first book, and I started to write as a biography. And I thought, my grandkids are never going to read this. Nobody's going to read a biography about somebody. So I changed it, and I wrote it as if it was a novel. Now, all of the main character is me and what I went through when I first got to Vietnam. All the events, or the events that happened, and it presented the sequence they happened, the conversations, or what was said, or what would have been said under the circumstances. So I wrote that. I went to a reunion. I got to the reunion, and the guys are going, "Well, what about this? What about that? How did you write about this?" So that led to the second book, Medal of Honor. And Medal of Honor picks up where the first book left off and goes through to where our company commander was killed and got the Medal of Honor. And then, so I finished that one up, and then it was well, why didn't you talk about Lam Son? That was right in the middle of the second book. So that's when I wrote Lam Son. And again, it was written in the same format.
Were these men?
Huh?
Were these men complaining?
Yeah, these were the guys in my outfit.
All right, they sound
reunion.
Just
so I wrote the Lam Son book, and again, wrote it as a novel, historical novel, but all the facts are true. All the events actually occurred, and the conversations are what was said or what would have been said under the circumstances.
This is great, really is. So I hear something about trying to put this into a movie.
We are. Lam Son, I sat down with a producer and two screenwriters, or guys who told me they were screenwriters, and took them up to Fort Campbell and showed them what Army aviation's all about, etc. Well, that night we were back in Nashville, and the producer said, "The story is Lam Son 719. This is the story that needs to be told." So we decided to write a screenplay based on Lam Son 719. Well, things didn't work out with the other two screenwriters, and I got rid of them. And I thought, well, hell, I'm going to write the screenplay. So I wrote the screenplay, and then I gave it to a young man who is a director and a screenwriter and has got some credentials. And in January, him and I are going through the screenplay and sit down and put final polish on it, and then try to get it out there. The main character will be Colonel Kirklider. And in fact, this afternoon I talked to his son, and we're going to get together next week, and he's going to give me detailed description of his father's personality, his father's looks, his father's concerns, those sorts of things.
He's passed?
Yes, Colonel Kirklider passed away.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he passed away 21 days after he retired from the Army. He was an 06. He was at, I think he commanded a battalion at Campbell. and then he went and did something else, and then he retired. And right after he retired, he passed away.
Yeah.
His wife is still with us. His wife is. Son told me tonight she's 91, 92 years old right now.
Where can we find more information about your book?
The book is at Amazon.
Okay.
We're getting ready to make a audio book on it. I've got audiobooks on the other two, but I haven't been able to put together an audio book on this one yet. And we'll do that after the first of the year. But we try to make it easy for people to understand. This book has got a lot of maps in it that shows where the battle took place, what the flight routes were, and I felt that was necessary so people could understand better what they were reading and how it was actually flowing in the battle.
Yeah, well, sure. With over 100 helicopters down and 600 damaged, it's got to be some kind of tracking, or like they do this COVID thing with this virus. We got to see what was going where and who was doing what. Well, okay, Matt, what was the question?
We got a few comments and questions.
Oh, we have a few comments and questions. Okay, ready? All right, let it rip. Can you read that?
No, you read that.
Okay, I spent 3 months just out of Quezon in support of Lam Son 719. That time was my worst spent in Vietnam. It was the point that I realized the U.S. had no intentions of winning that war.
Well, that's probably partially true, but remember at that time, that's when Nixon ordered Vietnamization, and we were drawn down. The 1st Cav Division had already gone home. The 9th Infantry Division had gone home. 1st ID had gone home. And supposedly the Vietnamese were going to take this war over, and we were going to get out of there. But they couldn't do this operation unless they had U.S. helicopters to do it for them. And that's the reason we wound up doing this thing. And
Right.
if Tim, if you were there at Quezon, you have my blessing, young man. That place was a mess.
Thank you, Tim Hodges, for that question and statement. Next. John Sabia, great Patriot stories.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John. Next. Joseph Chrysler, airborne all the way. Thank you, my paratrooper buddy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mike. Thank you, sir.
DKI, thank you. Research, thank you for your service, Deb. Okay, Matt, there you go. That's for you. Next, John Sabia.
There we go.
79 Ghost Riders, D-158th Aviation Battalion, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. That looks like a sticky word there.
I was up there at Fort Campbell for the 30th Desert Storm reunion back in August.
Oh, let's talk about that real quick, because it does say, I'm sorry, I totally forgot about this. You were in Desert Storm.
I was.
So
I was commanding I commanded the 3rd Battalion of the 327th Infantry.
There you go.
We were in fact, we spent that summer prior to Desert Storm at West Point. We were up there, had a 1,200-man task force. We were training the cadets for the summer. And we got the call while we were there to get back to Fort Campbell as quick as you can and get ready to leave. And we got out of there in one day, got everybody, a great executive officer. He uploaded 55 flatbed trucks with equipment and got them out of there one day. And that night had everybody at the airport, had them on their way out. Got to Campbell. We spent 3 weeks at Campbell, shifting the equipment around, running convoys down to Jacksonville. And we were out of there on our way to Saudi Arabia. And then we got to Saudi and we were there until after the war was over.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes.
Why did you go there from Fort Campbell?
Well, for the vehicles.
Take a boat?
Yes, the vehicles all convoyed to Fort Gillem in Atlanta, spent the night, and then the next day drove on down to the port in Savannah, Georgia, and loaded the ships, and then the troops came back on buses.
Wow.
Okay, we got another comment about Lam Son.
Okay, hold on. Here's another comment.
About Lam Son.
I was there with headquarters of the 5th Infantry Division, mechanized. I drove command APC for the 5th.
Good.
There you go.
You say
Two brothers.
you say you were there. Were you at Khe Sanh and in that vicinity during Lam Son? Because the 5th had a brigade that was outside of Khe Sanh between Dong Ha and Quang Tri that were operating in that area around the rock pile at that time.
Okay.
Maybe he'll answer.
Facebook user, please answer that question if you can. All right.
Next one.
Next, Matt. John Sabia, proud history for many battle streamers from Vietnam and our company guide on. There you go.
There you go.
John, what outfit were you with, John?
Next.
All right, next one. Go ahead, put it up there. Zeke for Bleak, thank you for your service, guys. Great show.
Thank you, Zeke.
Okay, this might be a different Facebook user. I'm not sure.
All right, we'll see. I was there, Lam Son 719 with the
Tell me
14th
it's not the same person.
Combat Engineers Battalion, D Company.
I think you guys.
What were they doing?
I'm trying to remember, but when we got to Dong Ha, there was a dirt runway, there was a control tower, and that was it. There was nothing else at Dong Ha.
When was this?
They're in Nam. Dong
When?
Ha,
No, when? What year?
this was in 71, February 71.
Wow.
Dong Ha had been empty for about 2 years. And so we come in there, and first night we slept in the helicopters and dug foxholes, and we went and borrowed, and it may have been the 14th Combat Engineers, borrowed a backhoe to dig slit trenches for us.
There you go.
Yeah, aviators did not live well. I mean, at least ours.
You weren't in the Air Force. You weren't in the Air Force.
Well, the guys in the 101st Aviation, the Combat Heroes,
Yeah.
they were still living down at Camp Evans. I mean, they were living good, hot showers and everything.
Yeah.
Free hot showers. Us guys at Dong Ha, it's cold showers and slit trenches.
I'm going to send you regards to them tomorrow night when I see him at the Bastogne reunion.
Okay.
I got a couple of Comancheros there and some other. What's the other group there? The I don't know. All I did was ride in a helicopter a lot. I didn't fly it, and those guys did. What else you got there, Matt?
No, that's about it.
No, there was one more thing that was on my mind there. You were in Dong Ha. I was up there, Dong Ha Bridge, Quang Tri, Camp Evans, LZ Sally, LZ Jane. I don't know where. That's about it. Yeah, Evans,
Yes.
Sally,
None of those were there when we were there. It was just because nobody had been up in that area for 2 years. Khe Sanh had been closed out since 68, I think it was.
oh yeah, it's like
Hadn't been anybody there.
Yeah, after Ted, I guess a lot of stuff went down.
Yeah.
After the Ted, after the start of the Ted offensive.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. This is very interesting stuff, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And again, we can find your book where?
On Amazon.
Okay.
It's available on Amazon, and we've got a 4th book that's going to be coming out soon that I'm working on right now, and it'll be Undaunted Valor Spring Offensive when it comes out.
Okay, and that was for everybody out there.
That's Lam Son.
There you go. And Undaunted Valor, Lam Son.
Oh, what does Lam Son mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Lam Son.
Yeah.
It was the name of a battle that the Vietnamese fought back in the 1700s against.
Oh, the Chinese.
And they
Yeah,
just,
I got you. Okay, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
That's why they still have their differences. That's pretty good. Well, thank you very much. We're going to be in touch with you. And thank you for your service. And I know you didn't talk too much about Desert Storm, Desert Shield, whatever you were in, but we'll get back to you again.
There's a series of books being released now on Desert Storm. It's called Crisis in the Desert. I wrote it, and it's a what if. What if things had gone a little different in Desert Storm? How much different would it have been? But the first book is out now. It's titled Project 19. And the second book and third book will be out pretty quick.
Were you in the 100-hour war?
Pardon?
Were you in the 100-hour war?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a kick-ass time.
It was a shocking time when my S3 came up to me and said, "Sir, cease fire." So what are you talking about, Billy? He says, We just got the word, cease fire. Stop shooting at them.
Yeah, there's nothing else to get, right?
That's
We ate him up.
we ate them up.
Saddam Hussein, I don't know, man. You got to be careful. when you know, you gotta look at all angles, right? It's
Right.
like, well, 100-hour war. That's pretty good. I hope they all last like that short, you know. But well, thank you very much, Matt. We'll be in touch with you. God bless you, and
Thank you
carry
much,
on,
Ron.
man.
Have a good day.
Welcome home. Thank you very much.
Right, so, wrap it up.
Okay, thank you very much for joining our show tonight. That was interesting, boy. 719 missions that took place in Laos. It resulted in 108 helicopters destroyed and 618 damaged. That is insane. Boy.
Talk about that stone. What we're doing tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow we're up at 101st Airborne Division is celebrating the Battle of Bastards of Bastogne. They held that area of Belgium during World War II, and the Germans came up and said, "You're surrounded, and you have to surrender." And then actually Maxwell Taylor, the commanding general, happened to be back in Washington, and Anthony McAuliffe, General Anthony McAuliffe, said to his advisor, "What's going on here?" And he said he wants to surrender. And then the advisor said, "Nuts." So that's how we got the nuts. I got a few nuts here. Where are the nuts at? Got nuts? Where? Oh, yeah. Hold on a minute. Here's a couple of nuts. See these nuts? All right. There's one here from 1995. There you go. The walnut there. And this one is from 1998.
So they'll know we'll be broadcasting tomorrow.
We'll be broadcasting from there tomorrow at the, I don't even know.
So
I think it started in 1953. So 67, 83, 93, 103, 13, almost 70 years that they go up the West Point. And at one time they couldn't do it because a couple of times they were renovating the Hotel Thayer. But if you're around and you want to have a good time with a bunch of crazy paratroopers, stop in at West Point Thayer Hotel tomorrow. We're there from noontime to the evening. There's a dinner. There is a fee applied, so maybe you should call. And there you go. The big banquet for remembering the guys who,
These World War II guys.
yeah, still awesome World War II guys out there who did the jump in Normandy and then fought in the Battle of the Bulge. That's crazy, but great history. Thank you very much for being on it with our show tonight. God bless you and welcome home.